We are good to go. You know you're live.
Okay, we're live. Welcome to the Solid Waste Committee for the Peeling Painting Hills Community Services. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Note that both directors are here. What do you think of the agenda?
I motion to
Oh,
approve.
wait, is there any changes?
There are no changes.
Okay.
We're all thrown off. I motion that we approve the agenda.
I'll second that. No, do you have any public?
There are no members of the public present on Zoom or in person.
Okay. And I looked over the minutes, so I'll move them.
All right, I second.
Review of program events. Do we have anything going on?
Yes, so coming up in July, or not July, August 13th.
Oops,
Stand by.
having technical issues. Okay.
Okay. August 13th at the CR in our yard, we'll be having a waste tire amnesty event, so our free tire day. It's from 8 a.m. to noon. So
How
if
many
you-
tires?
9 tires.
9. Okay.
If you have more, just give me a call. Just to let me know. But transportation requirements allow a max of 9 tires
Okay.
without permitting, so. If you have any laying around, make sure you bring them. That's kind of it for our solid waste events. We're gonna have in the fall, and that was in the report, we'll have a used oil filter and exchange recycling event on September 10th, and that's at AutoZone from 9 to 2 p.m.
Okay.
And then Mr. Eco has, one second, we have a member of the public trying to get in. Mr. Eco is working on the schedule for the next school year. I'm having him kind of redesign the messaging that he's doing to be more customized for us, just because we're not implementing SB 1383 this year like other jurisdictions are. So his program had those components in it, and we're not quite ready to educate on that yet because we don't really know what's going to go in the green bin at this time. So, and then we're going to focus, we share the cost with water conservation. So he's going to do more on water conservation this year because of the drought, and also talking about protecting our watershed and illegal dumping, stuff like that. So it'll be good. I'll let you know of the dates that he's out here so you can go see one of the performances.
I would really like that. That would be enjoyable.
So that is all I have for events.
And I noticed we had a member of the public join us, Meredith.
Yeah, Meredith Hergenrader, do you have a public comment?
I have a couple, actually. I just got in, so is it now? Should I be asking this now?
Yes.
If it is there a point on the agenda that you're wanting to talk about in particular, or is it just a general comment?
No, well, about the SB 1383.
Okay, well, we'll have that here. We're about to go over that right now, so probably be a good time for you to add that to it. So, are we done with the program events?
Yes, we are.
Okay, awesome. Perfect time for your comment now. So feel free, Meredith. Thank you.
Okay, are we on 5?
Yeah, we're on 5.
Okay.
So do you want her to comment now?
Almost muted me, so I gotta turn.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm wondering, I got these things here, and this is just like 1 month. I don't know how much it costs to send out all this information, but if you can send out all this information every month, and I have no idea what the cost is for this, I don't know why there was never anything sent out about how you're going to implement the SB 1383. So that would be my first question is, I guess, how much does it cost to send out all the paperwork, and why wasn't one little corner of one of those papers used to keep us informed along the way, instead of like springing it on us, voting and then going, oops, it's all done. And several times we've been asked about what the cost is going to be for people, because there's going to be a lot more trucks and a lot more pickups. And we know that what people are paying right now is probably going to go up, and we've never been given any cost for this. So I don't know if anybody has figured that out yet. I know the last meeting I was at, they said that they hadn't figured it out yet, which seems like they should have figured that out before they voted on it. I mean, I don't vote on things and go, we'll figure it out later, how much it's going to cost. Think I'll buy a new house, know how I did it, how much I got money for to put down or whatever, but we're just going to go ahead with it. So it seems like you ought to be able to figure that out by now, or maybe 3 or 4 months ago. And I think that you need to be more public. Even these Zoom meetings, the only way I can get to a Zoom meeting is I have to log on to your page and have to find the announcement for the Zoom meeting. And then I have to download a PDF, and then I have to find where the Zoom link is. Yeah, I'm a master gardener. I put links all the time on Master Gardener's pages for upcoming events. So it's not that hard. It just seems deceptive to me that you can't be a little bit more upfront.
Okay, well, why don't we first talk about the billing? Have we worked any of those details out yet?
Yeah, no problem.
Let's start there.
So as the committee is aware, on June 15th, we went ahead and updated the implementation timeline for uniform collection, which includes the SB 1383 collection component, so the organics collection. So our commercial collection for organics will not begin until January of 2023. And of course, residential is still set for July 1st of 2023, knowing that that might get pushed out. So on our schedule, you can see that we're going to begin our residential and continue business outreach and education in this month. Part of the problem that we're having is we still do not know at this moment exactly where our organic waste is going to go. And so it's hard to educate on separating. Plus, we don't have the service implemented yet. And so if we were to educate on that, they might not remember by the time we actually implement the service. But we are going to start our public outreach at our upcoming events and our flyers of letting our customers know that at some point there will be required service. As far as the costs, we can't project out costs that far in advance. Right now we're going through extraordinary inflation, and we're going through a supply chain crisis. And so if we had to implement service at this moment, the cost would go up a lot. And so right now we're waiting to see if that our price impacts go down before we try to come up with a rate for residential service. You know, that's a year away, or if not more. Mm-hmm. And also, I'm sorry, there's a fly. It's driving me crazy. It's very distracting. And also knowing if we're going to have a local outlet for the waste, because that's going to impact the cost of transporting it to a facility. So if we can take it somewhere locally, obviously that's cheaper for fuel and staff time and everything like that. And so we're also looking at ways to reduce costs in other ways. We've thrown out a lot of ideas. You know, maybe we're going to have 2 bins and have something mixed. Maybe it's 3. Maybe, like, is the food going to have to go in a bag separate? Like, there's so many variables that are unknown at this point that we cannot come up with a reasonable cost of service. Like, it would just be guessing at this point. Our current rates for service are out there. So if you're curious what trash service and costs with CR&R, that is out there. The big thing that we have coming, though, is we're going to be requiring everybody to have trash service and recycling service and organic service in order to meet the compliance with SB 1383 for enforcement and inspection and everything like that. So it's a big job ahead of us still, and we're just not ready to implement the service yet. So it would be a little premature to, until now, our new budget year, to be doing extensive education and outreach on that. On our commercial side, we've done it. So Belen has met with the majority of our commercial customers and has educated them on this. And so, we'll be ready on January 1 for that. And we'll be developing the cost of service rates, starting in the fall of this year, even looking at the proposed residential rates when we have more information on everything. So, and then I don't know how much our flyers cost to send out. I can get that information. It varies. I know it doesn't really cost much more to send out additional pages.
Past a certain
Yeah,
point.
we have a limit on how many pages, and it's essentially the same price. And so we like to promote our events. If you don't want to get the flyers, you can sign up for paperless billing, and then you'll get the flyers electronically.
Okay, and what other details do you want to go over? Because we're trying, right now, we're sort of in an in-between where we don't know how much it's going to cost to get each house to have 3 cans, if that's the point it goes to, or if it's going to be 2 cans. The change of lid colors, just the supplies of extra trucks for routes.
Yeah.
Parts to get the current vehicles keep the current vehicles even running is been a complication as well. Just like what we've had to do with the commercial, bumping it out 6 months, there's a possibility that we may have to do the same with the residential because of the logistical issues that we're facing. Am I getting that correct?
Yeah, and it's my understanding that the county's timeline for their service areas is January 1, 2024 for residential. So we might mirror that and take advantage of some of the outreach that they're doing. I think it would be less confusing. And it's the same kind of process with the dump cards and everything. So I think it would be best to piggyback with them on that. So we're on the same page, because I'm waiting to see how they're going to manage the dump cards for their CSAs, like Oak Hills. So the county still has jurisdiction in Oak Hills, very similar to us. How is that going to play out with the dump cards and the timing of everything, issuing those, and
Dropping it off the property
there's a lot of
taxes
moving
and-
components in this. So once we get more items kind of dialed in, it's going to be a lot easier. But we are going to start the beginning, like organics collection, recycling, and solid waste collection are coming. And it's just, I don't feel comfortable putting out when it's going to begin when we don't know when it's going to begin. Right?
I agree.
So we'll let them know it's coming. It could come as early as, July of next year, but
There's a possibility of later.
yeah, we don't want to create confusion with all of it. I think, it's out there. It's in the news that organics collection's happening. You're starting to see the 3 different types of containers in some jurisdictions, which
I've
I can
seen-
tell you, I was down at the beach this weekend and people aren't putting organics in the organics one at any of the shopping centers. It's regular old trash because the other trash cans are full. So it's going to be interesting. And
When I lived in a multi-resident apartment complex in Oregon, where they had multiple separating glass in one and this and the other, they all ended up with.
yeah,
And that was, I lived there 10 years, and it was the same thing the entire 10 years.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, we would have the digester that CR&R has out in Paris up here. And then everything could just, go into the one bin, and it would be easy, and we don't have to rely on, the homeowner or the business to source separate. CR&R would do it
I
for
have to
us.
say, their facility is amazing. That tour was incredible what it does.
And depending on the timeline with Circle Green and their digester, which they haven't even, really started on the digester portion of the facility, they're still working on the composting. I mean, we don't know what their digester will ultimately take, because my understanding is Vertex doesn't take food waste, but it does take some organic waste. And so there's a city down the hill that's piloting 100 houses with Vertex proposed methodology of collecting organics. And so they just finished their pilot program. There were 100 residences that were given education on what they should do with their food waste, which is put it in a bag and put it on top of your green bin on trash day. And then Vertex staff would collect the green the bag on top of the bin. And then I don't know what they do to process it. I assume they open it up and it goes to a compost facility, but I have no idea. Essentially, what they found with 100 people who were given education on how to do this, right, at that level, they joked and said, we collected an apple.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
And so every single jurisdiction is having like pains with implementing this. So it's not just us. In some ways, we're way ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Yes.
In other ways, we're still not there.
So how many, all the jurisdictions are having to this statewide is leading to adding to a logistical issue on top
Well,
of it.
yeah, every single jurisdiction is having to contend with supply chain issues, personnel
Right.
issues, hiring issues, shortages. Like getting your truck fixed is very difficult. Getting the parts. I'm waiting 6 months now for a new windshield on my car.
Yeah.
Yeah, Dawn has been a year. And so you kind of extrapolate that out, if everybody is trying to get these containers, these bins, and so many of them, I mean, you can see what's happening. Like even the new requirement of SB 1383 is, you're supposed to use recycled content paper products. And guess what's gone up in price because everybody's buying them.
Yeah.
In addition to the price crunch that we're having right now on everything. So.
So the basic answer is we're at the wait to see what things shake out as.
Yes, yeah. And, I think it's probably more realistic. We're looking at January 1 of 2024 for residential implementation. And that's too far away to develop cost of service. There's no way. We don't know what inflation's going to do. We don't know what gas is going to do. And all of those are components of the disposal costs. Mm-hmm. We don't know what the tipping fees are going to be at the county. We don't know where organics is going to go. We don't even know where our recycling is going to go because that could change. Yeah. So it's just not something we can do right now. We would be throwing a number out there.
And as soon as we were to make those decisions and they were started to lock into place into the giant puzzle, the pieces start setting themselves, we'll make for sure that we notify the public.
We have to. Yeah,
okay.
We are subject to Prop 218 whenever we have a mandatory service, right? Or there's nowhere else you can go for it in order to implement the rates. And so a notification will be mailed out to every single residence and business about what the rates and fees are going to be on everything.
And the means to file a complaint about it, all that's
everything.
Included in it.
Yeah, and we're still working on the de minimis issue. There's still ordinance revision we need to do. We had to adopt the ordinance. And our ordinance is what enables us to set by a separate resolution our rates. So our ordinance does not make us set the rate. It just gives us the ability to implement that service, and it's required.
Can you give a brief synopsis, like a 30-second to 1 minute description of what Prop 218 is?
So Proposition 218 was passed a long time ago by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. Basically, they didn't like how agencies were just adding on property-related fees without really notifying anybody, so they passed what was known as Proposition 218, which requires notification to a property owner that there's going to be a rate increase or a fee added or something like that. And if you talk to the Howard Jarvis people that drafted that back in the day, they're still around. They tell you they did not intend for it to apply to utilities.
It does.
But it did. And so we are subject to it. And there's some discussion back and forth as to whether or not it's necessary for solid waste rates and fees. But, as you're aware of our legal counsel's opinion, because if it's a mandatory service, it should be 218. And even before we had anything mandatory, we did 218 for our rates and fees. Yes.
So now, when that happens, it won't be coming out in their bill. They'll be getting a separate
Correct.
mailer for that. They will get a distinct letter saying this is what's happening.
Yeah, it's a completely distinct mailer. We have public hearings on it. I imagine we're going to have some workshops on this, and we're going to really expand our community education once we know what we're doing.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just not quite there yet.
So we're really like, out of a, let's say 30 steps, we're probably at step 2 or 3 still.
Something like that,
Okay.
but, adopting the ordinance was required by CowerCycle. It needed to be done before April in order to make us eligible for some grants. And
And what are the consequences if the district did not follow through with this?
well,
That would be a good idea.
yes.
To put out there right now.
Well, ultimately, you'll be subject to $10,000 a day per violation fines. They're not doing that quite yet. We have a notice of intent to comply. It's kind of like a blanket, although
working on it,
we've
too.
already modified our compliance plan, so.
So, Meredith, is that filling in some of your questions?
Yeah, it sounds like, we just need to wait for a lot of those questions. The other question I have is, so I did a lot of yard cleanup. You know how rabbit brush grows and dies and then makes this just big ball of dry sticks. So I had 3 truckloads of rabbit brush and, just tumbleweeds and stuff I wanted to get rid of. So I already took 2 truckloads off, and when my husband got there, he said, they aren't letting you go in to put the, and we always try to make sure we only do either like brush and that kind of stuff or garbage, one of the 2. So if we're doing brush, we just go around the corner and dump it all there in that big pile in the back. And he said that they wouldn't let him go back there. And I thought, well, that's weird. So we go the second time, and the same thing. They waved us into the main dump, where the regular solid waste is, and we had to unload the truck over the bars and everything. And we overheard the CR&R employees talking about how somebody had put something that wasn't supposed to be in there. And so whoever she was, shut it down and was not going to let anybody put anything in there. And so there was a trailer full of manure came in that just got put in the solid waste. And then my 2 truckloads of stuff, I haven't got the last of it out, but all this green waste was going into the regular dump because they didn't want to have to separate it. But, the guy with the alfalfa, and it looked like maybe it was like cleaned out of a barn or something. It wasn't just manure. It looked like shavings and that kind of stuff. And then us with the tumbleweeds and rabbit brush all went into the main solid waste section. So a year from now, 2 years from now, I'm still gonna
Yeah, if
be-
I can jump in real quick.
Ma'am, we'll fill you in a little bit. I know the facility that you're talking about, it isn't ran by CR&R. It's ran by,
The county operates the transfer station, or as people call it around here, the dump, because it used to be a dump. And so the county is actually responsible for how they operate that. And they contract with Advanced Disposal right now for running that. And so it's not CR&R's employees, so I don't want them to get the blame for this. It's definitely the county. I imagine as the county implements its SB 1383 ordinance, that will change at the transfer facility, how they separate that. But again, it is up to them if they think that there's some type of contamination or something that they can't take for processing at an organics facility. It would go into the main solid waste stream. Correct, Brent?
Yeah, and that's Athens that runs that.
Athens, sorry.
Disposal runs that, but it's a county facility. CR&R has nothing to do with that. So whatever they're doing as far as telling you to take it one place or another has nothing to do with CR&R.
the CR&R facility is closer to Phelan Road. If you're going to the transfer station, as you're going down the road, Buckwheat, it'll be on your right side, about halfway down the road before you reach the transfer station. That's the CR&R facility where you can take your recycling and things like that. Where you had that problem was the transfer station, which like they said, is run by the county. And I guess you'd have to address the county and the company with that one.
Yeah, I'll reach out to my contact at the county and let them know that our residents are, experiencing this issue as you described. And hopefully they can address it with Athens.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did that answer all your questions?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I'm still worried about when this does happen. I clean the road in front of my house. I try to get rid of the, tumbleweeds and,
Keep it clear.
just that kind of stuff because of fire hazard. And I can easily take 2 truckloads of weeds just off of my side of the street. And it's like, I don't want to pay somebody to do that, so I'm kind of worried about not being able to go and dump stuff like that.
I believe we'll still be able to take stuff there if it's too big for the containers and you just remain at the 3 smaller containers and just keep like your household food waste going into that and all your yard, which can be excessive out here. The transfer station will remain open still. That will still be a place where you can take things, and the dynamics of it will change as far as the dump card will likely go away, so you'd have to pay for any actual dump fees at that point if you were to take some. But green waste has always been the yard waste. I don't think they charge for that.
Yeah, I don't know what the county's gonna do, in the future
Not known.
for any of that. But yeah, you'll still be able to haul all of that to the transfer station. There'll just be a fee for it. So if it doesn't weigh a lot, it's not going to cost a lot. But I encourage you to compost your yard waste. And we do offer composting classes through our community garden. You're a master gardener, right? Yeah. So Michelle Hannon over here, she teaches composting. And then I think we're ready to go back to our in-person composting class with Dr. Wu. And so he has a very realistic take on how to compost yard waste in the desert and how to manage your expectations, because it does take a little bit longer up here. And composting is still allowed.
And that won't change.
I think the question would be, if you live on a half acre behind Galaxy or whatever it is now, and you had 3 acres of brush and animals and that kind of stuff, there's no way I can compost, 5 loads of weeds every year. I just can't do it unless somebody wants to bring a tractor over, and I can't afford a tractor. So I know Dr. Wu actually, and I don't think he would tell me to compost all that stuff.
Yeah, again, it's, I don't know how much yard waste everybody has out here, but the dump will still, or the transfer station will still be open. So you can go there, and there are other options. If the, barrel service isn't adequate, you can get a dumpster. I know lots of people with horses out here or large properties tend to utilize a dumpster if they have service with CR&R.
Well, things are going to shift, that's for sure. I'm thankful that the transfer station will still be available for people to take. No idea what the cost will be, though.
Yeah, and we feel your pain. This isn't something that the district wanted to do. We understand our lifestyle out here. However, the folks up in Sacramento do not, and they do not care. We don't qualify for an exemption, unfortunately, and I'm trying to get them out here for a tour. They were briefly out here and could see kind of how it is, but they just do not understand our lifestyle. They think everybody lives like they do in Sacramento, and that's how they implement or draft and implement their policies. They are no consideration for this, and every agency is struggling with it, no matter what type they are. A city, unincorporated, rural community. I mean, it's huge what we're having to deal with and try to, and we understand like this is going to be challenging.
It's part of the reason why we've changed our committee meetings from every 3 months to once a month, is because the changes are happening and we need to be ready for the next shift ahead of time before it, instead of it coming on and going, okay, now we got to play catch up every 3 months.
Right. Oh, and to speak to your point about the link to attend the meeting. So I have some good news on that. We are changing our website platform to a more modern one. And it's going to have a way better functionality as far as getting our meeting announcements and minutes and agendas, and also the Zoom link. So that's coming soon. We're hoping to roll it out by the end of this month, so it'll be a lot easier.
That's some good news.
If I may for just a moment, let's go back to implementation dates. And Ms. Ward has pointed out that we're looking at January, possibly January of '24 for residential. If that's the case, that's fine. If we need to do it earlier, obviously CR&R is prepared to do it earlier. Costs, once again, are unknown at this point. If I had to give you a cost today, it would be ugly because, as Ms. Ward has pointed out, processing, labor, equipment costs and everything just have skyrocketed. So it's very difficult to keep a price down. Hopefully within this year, we'll see things hopefully level off. We'll see things come back around to somewhat normal, whatever that may be. And with new processors coming online, hopefully more local, we can keep that cost down. Another thing I wanted to touch on was the dump card. Initially that dump card is only for household waste. It is not for yard waste. So if people are really aware of that, the county stresses that a lot. But we've always used it as our dump card. Wrightwood does a pine needle cleanup, so they have a special card that allows them so many pine needle loads with theirs also. Here in the desert area, we've never done that, but technically it's for household waste only. That is part of the reason for the low cost of that. They're not expecting people to clean yards and have horses and have farms, and all that goes underneath the dump card. So just to make that clear, so the education, the outreach is going to be critical when we get to that, so people understand what they're paying for today and how that works, and what it's going to be in the future, because it is completely different. We've been going along at this, and it's been a great program, but unfortunately, 1383 in Sacramento has changed all that on us. We can no longer kind of do what we're doing. We're going to have to do the Sacramento way, which really doesn't work out here. But back to the question of yard cleaning, road cleaning, and all that, it's going to come at a cost to people, unfortunately, if they're going to keep doing that. Or we're going to have to try to figure out another way to implement a program to do that locally, to help people get that done, to clean roads so that therefore we don't have fire hazards around places. I don't know what the answer is, but I just know that the outreach to the public is going to be critical as we move forward here, just so that they understand where we are today and where we're going to have to go.
Yes,
Thank you.
and it actually slipped my mind that you're not supposed to put yard waste with your dump card, but
Yeah.
people do.
Yeah,
I always did when I had one.
we all have for many years.
Yeah,
and-
no, because right.
But I
Yeah,
think,
because the dump cart, like, was it 2017? I did that whole ESFR study, looking at what the dump card fees, when we were looking at taking over the dump cards. And what we came to realize was our residents are disposing of twice the amount of waste that they're paying for.
Oh my.
So, yeah, we would have to double the dump card fee in order to just net out with paying the county for the transfer fees. So we quickly abandoned that idea, keep the fee low, because really, that dump card is the county's way of complying with health code that you get rid of your trash once a week, because you're not supposed to have trash around your house longer than a week. It's supposed to every week be disposed of. And the disposal method adopted by the county forever was a dump card with 52 punches, so you can go once a week and get rid of your household trash, not your weeds or
Right.
manure.
but you can see where the confusion is coming
Yes.
in then, because we've been dumping our trash at the transfer station for decades. And we always put tree limbs in the trailer with the regular trash and everything, and nobody ever says anything.
They never
So
enforced it, but they
they're-
could have.
Right. So they're going to have to become more clear like we are, because otherwise all of our constituents are going to be confused trying to figure out what they can put in the barrel and then what they can take to the transfer station.
The education is critical. that they
Absolutely.
understand. And I think, on the county's side of that, they've always been pretty much made whole for the simple reason that a lot of the homes don't have people in it. They're still collecting those fees from those people, so those people were not putting anything in. So the people that were doubling up, they were kind of getting paid. Somebody else was paying that for them. But at this point, there's not as many of those anymore, and the cost, as Kim has pointed out,
yeah.
we're double what we should be putting in there, and anymore there's not as many, I don't think, vacant properties that people are paying a yearly fee on. So I think that that's going to, the county I know has discussed that with me, so I know that they're looking at that now. So, because we have manure bins and all of that that end up going in under some of this household waste is going to have to stop, unfortunately. That's,
Yeah, and that might be something I talk to the county about, that
Yeah.
they start giving out flyers, educating what the dump card is actually. I don't want to like make it to where people can't get rid of their stuff, but also I don't want to
Right.
get the blame for,
Not having information. out
people doing what
Yeah.
they're not supposed to do for 20 years, and then all of a sudden, the rules are enforced and it's our fault. But
Agreed.
yeah, it's going to be very difficult. And, we've been lucky because we're kind of lumped in with all the other unincorporated areas with that ESFR we kind of distribute who's using the trash dump card and who is not. And so, what we discovered is like out in Hellendale, they have a high participation rate in their curbside service. So nobody's really going to the dump. And same thing up in Wrightwood. And then, here we definitely go to the dump, like twice what we should be. So,
Good to know.
Okay, well, going over 1383, I think we've covered procurement and timeline real well.
yeah, so the procurement policy is going to go to the board. I gave you a draft copy. I'll post this. I just finished it. I have actually good news. We do not have to procure organic, recycled organic content. So mulch or biofuels made from organic material, which is huge because I went through the worksheet just to see if we had to buy all of that mulch, let's just say. And like our current mulch purchases are about 8% of what we would need. So I don't even know, like, we could cover the whole desert in mulch in order to meet the requirement of that provision of SB 1383, but we are exempt. So special districts were exempt from that procurement. We are not exempt from purchasing recycled content paper products, though. So we have to have a policy on that. And so this was whittled way down from what it would have been had we had to buy all of the organic recovered, or what is it, Brent? It's such a long name.
I don't,
Recovered organic material, something like that. Yeah.
some,
And
lost in the
I know
middle
that there's legislation for the jurisdictions that do have to do it. There's legislation out there to expand what that definition is, because the list is very narrow. Like really the only thing I could see from that list had we had to comply would be mulch. Like, because there's no biofuel stations out here for us to purchase anything from. And we don't have anything that would run on that. So, or electricity generated from it. So that would have been a huge undertaking. It would have cost us a lot. I mean, I don't know. If I extrapolated the math, and it would have been like an additional like $25,000 a year.
And so this is the things the district needs to buy.
Yes, so the district has to, whenever possible, and I chose there were a lot of options that we could do in the resolution. So you could just say a blanket policy, we will always buy recycled content paper products. We don't care what the cost is, but there was an option to where it has to be similar within like a 10% variance. And so that's the one that I put into this resolution, because recycled paper has gone up a lot. And the only caveat is, though, if we choose to buy regular paper, the record keeping we have to do to show why we bought regular paper for our copier over the recycled paper it's ridiculous. We have
need
to
more
have
paper
to
to
show the
take
cost
care of the
analysis,
paper
yeah.
problem.
And like even our vendors, there's vendor requirements from SB 1383 on all of the records that they have to keep and provide us with. So like, I can't wait to see what paper is. I know the last time I went, a ream of paper was almost $20. So
For non, for
Yeah.
the, for
for regular
recycle-
old, yeah.
Recycle or
No,
regular?
regular old paper that you just
Regular.
buy an individual ream of. We buy in bulk. So I don't know what it's costing. Do you know, Amy? Yeah, I don't know what it's like $60 a case now.
Wow.
Yeah, it used to be 25.
It's, wow.
that is the cost
Okay.
But yeah, if it gets too much and, we're definitely seeing an impact to like our office supply budget, we would opt to buy the regular paper and we would just do the record keeping that we need to. So it's like
And by
a
having it-
screenshot of this is what it costs us to buy it.
And by
But
the 10% margin thing is what it is? So if all of a sudden
Yeah.
you notice this is 10% more than what
I believe
the
it's
others-
10%.
Okay.
But I'll have a pretty good staff report on this in the packet talking about what we did and why we did it.
Okay.
Sounds good. So do we need to both agree to this thing that needs to move on?
Well, I don't think you've had a chance to read it, but, if you're okay with it going to the board at this next meeting, I can definitely put it on the agenda. And then you'll have time between now and then to review it.
Yeah, I would think
Yeah,
that's
I-
fine.
I-
It's boilerplate from CalRecycle. So I took their template and
Adapt.
modified it for our district.
Okay.
Well, I did skim through it, and we'll read it more before we look at it on our board meeting next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So-
just very excited about that variance. And so, this is the weird thing though with CalRecycle. So I called our rep and confirmed it, and he said, yes, you're correct. And so then I requested an email. I wanted an email confirmation, like something in writing. And he called me and told me his legal counsel said that they can't do that. And I'm like, that is very squirrely. I don't understand that. And so the only thing he sent me back was the same screenshot that I sent him of the regulation. And so I talked to our legal counsel, Mr. Kennedy, and he told me that I'm just going to go ahead and send them a letter confirming what they told me. And that's it. That's our legal for not doing this, because
the step we need to
I
do.
want, because every jurisdiction is having issues and the reps are very busy and and they're scrambling trying to figure it all out. They can't answer all of my questions. Like the reporting is in so many different places. Like I got a reporting request from the county today, but I'm like, my CalRecycle rep told me that I report this to them, and I trust the lady at the county, Sharon. She knows what she's doing. And she said, no, she's like, the weird thing is like, this is going to be a report that we still collect from every jurisdiction. So even the cities. And so the capacity planning. And so that reporting we're still going to do to the county. It's still unclear about recycling because our rep told me, no, you're going to report your own recycling, but Sharon told me at the county that's not true. And she said the only thing that we report is our organics disposal activity. So I'm still trying to figure out what it is. I would love something in writing from CalRecycle, but they won't give it to me. And so I'm going to do my best to figure out this puzzle that they've created, because they don't account for all of the jurisdiction types. As we're well aware, as a special district, they write laws for cities or for counties. They don't know what we are. And so we're an afterthought in pretty much every model ordinance, model resolution, model policy. We're an afterthought when they tell us or don't tell us how reporting works. It's an interesting thing that I'm dealing with here. I call it my SB 1383 puzzle. We have our HHW meetings with other jurisdictions, and we've decided we need to start a support group for those of us that are dealing with this, because I pulled a call log of all of the calls I've received from CalRecycle, because I'm like, am I just crazy? Am I kind of thinking, it's excessive and it's not? No, I had our IT pull a call log of how many calls I've received, and you saw it. It's pages long, just from the past couple months. Like at some points it's daily. I just got a call. He needed to know when we adopted our ordinance again. So I sent him a screenshot of the portal.
Okay, now the other thing we have on here is the de minimis. Do you have anything to update on that one?
No, that's just going to be something that we keep on there to remind us as we're going through our ordinance revision, to make sure that we have de minimis provisions where appropriate within the ordinance.
We can add them where we.
Yeah,
need
because
to.
right now the de minimis doesn't address all of our different potential customer types, right? So there were some residential considerations to be made. We are going to have people that just don't have any organic waste because
Okay, before we move on
they
from-
compost.
From number 5, I'd like to touch base with Meredith one more time to see if we filled in what questions we can right now, and also invite her to bring more questions back if she has them in the future, to bring to either the committee or any workshops we have, things like that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Are you good, Meredith?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
We were just getting dinner, so I turned off video.
I totally understand. You have a wonderful dinner. Thank you for joining us. And hope to hear from you in the future if you have any other future questions.
I'm actually on the an associate on the RCD board, and our meetings go for 3 hours. So.
Oh wow. I'm thankful
Oh,
we
no.
generally get our communication going and we get a flow to it and can get things done fairly well overall. Occasionally we've had a couple of hiccups, but overall been real well. Okay, let's move on to number 6, staff reports. What do we have to?
Yeah, so I have my report in here. Customer data, our commercial customers were at 116 for trash, and this is, of course, for June. So this is June data, and 59 recycling, and I anticipate that next month we're going to see 119 trash and 119 recycling or thereabouts. So that'll be great news. And of course, we're not issuing citations or permits right now. I don't have any active commercial self-haul permits for recycling. So everybody's.
So the residential 52, are these the ones that are like closer here in town?
Yeah,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, the small
Right, yeah.
thing.
the-
Okay.
Yeah.
the state, yeah.
So when we have 52, wow.
Yeah.
I like the layout of this, by the way. The way it's
Oh, good.
presented, by the way.
Yeah, and so our residential accounts, we ticked up. We got like 20 new accounts over the previous month. So this is good. So we're encouraging
on
people to sign up for service. So if you, I put in my little chart that I keep in my notes. You can see our residential trash count has gone way up since June 2017, and we're up not quite 100 over last year.
It's still a good improvement considering,
Yeah. I mean, as more and more people move up here from other areas, I think they're just used to having that curbside service,
I've been taking to calling it to roadside.
roadside service.
Because we really don't have curbs.
Yeah, and then I attended the Solid Waste Association of North America's regional chapter conference in June, and there are some really good presentations. I'm waiting on getting some of the slides because I think you would find some of them interesting. But essentially, one of my main takeaways from this is a lot of agencies are just out of compliance, period. And a lot of them didn't even do a notice of intent to comply.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh,
So that'll
wow.
be interesting to see how that plays out next year when real enforcement begins,
Yeah.
when they can start issuing citations. And then you saw our procurement policy that's in there. And that's about it. So that's kind of it. We already went over everything else that's
Yeah.
trash related in my report. We're waiting to hear from about the SB 1383 local compliance grant. We're eligible for the second round for up to $20,000. And that can be used for a variety of things, including education on SB 1383, which will be good because it's expensive to mail stuff. And so we would like to do kind of standalone mailers so they don't get lost in our billing mailers.
Okay. Review of action items, what do we have?
1 second, let me get to that. Yeah, I haven't recorded anything other than I kind of have a Public Records Act quasi request from Meredith Hergen. I'm going to butcher that, Hergenrader, about what it costs to send out our bills.
For the page
Yeah.
costs,
Mhm.
things like that, okay.
And then perhaps the thing that we talked about, just, find out about the county and, what's
Yeah,
going
I'm going to
on.
definitely reach out to the county about the transfer station.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, there was a minute there where they were giving out incorrect information about our dump cards. I received multiple phone calls about it.
Right. That's my biggest concern is
Yeah.
that misinformation from them or conflict. One time she can dump, the next time she can't. We're
Yes.
gonna get the complaints for that, not the county, so.
Right, yeah, and even if people aren't complaining to us, I don't want them out there in the community thinking that this is our fault. 'Cause
Right.
it's definitely not.
Or their fault.
Exactly.
Yeah.
CRNR is doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so our next meeting, our next meeting will be August 11th?
That's correct.
Okay. Wait, okay, got it in my calendar. And do you want anything put on the agenda?
Nope, that was good.
And I have nothing to add to it, so I think we've completed our meeting and are adjourning. Meredith, thank you for joining us. And we're
You're
adjourned.
welcome.
Thanks, we're adjourned.